Okay, right now we have our basic files and our basic folder. Let's look at how our database looks like. First of all, we need to connect. We need to connect our our Laravel installation to our database that is resident in phpMyAdmin. So first of all, I have to go to my browser, open a new tab, and type localhost / phpMyAdmin. Hit enter. And we're gonna see something like abracadabra, then phpMyAdmin will pull up. Now, if your phpMyAdmin doesn't pull up, then it's likely that there is a problem with your installation. For instance, maybe your WAMP server is not running. WAMP or XAMPP server, make sure that it is running, okay? And once it's running and it's green, like if it's WAMP server, it has to be green. If it's XAMPP server, you're gonna see it on the screen, or Laragon, whatever you're using. Make sure that your server is running and it's running what you need it to run. So now, if it's running, your installation should come with root as the username and empty as password, unless you have changed the password, which not many people ever do. Okay, so root and empty as password. Make sure it's left on MySQL. Otherwise, you have MariaDB. I wouldn't use MariaDB. I'll stick to MySQL because that's what Laravel comes with by default. I don't want to go into configuring it to use MariaDB and stuff like that. It's not as important as we want. Okay, so we're good. Now, we have our database. You could have yours. There are basic tables like 1, 2, 3, 4 tables you're gonna see. I created these two. Don't ever delete any of them. So there is databases. You click on databases. Now we're gonna have to create a database, and I'm gonna call it Laravel jobs. So Laravel -jobs. Okay, don't set any other thing. Just click create, and boom, Laravel jobs is created. Now we have to go back to our Laravel app, and somewhere on click on the env file. So first of all, I have to minimize this. So I'll click this tiny little arrow here, okay, and then I can drag this down. So I want you to be seeing the full folder. So here on the root folder, I click on the env file. We're back to that good old friend, the env. Now here, as you can see, it's asking us what is your database. As you can see, it sets our database to MySQL by default. Now, if you selected MariaDB, then you have to set MariaDB here. Well, like I said, it's irrelevant to us for this course. Just leave it at the default. The database host is at localhost. These are the port. We don't need all this. But the database name, what is the database name? We created a database called Laravel -jobs, and we're good. With the login is root with an empty password. Okay, so Control S to save, and we're good. Then we go to here. So now let's refresh first our Laravel installation. Refresh. So now what happened is that our Laravel app has now been linked to our database. So to test this, let us run a migration. So what is a migration? When you run a migration from the command prompt, okay, you know in Laravel, you don't create your database, you don't create your database tables like this. If you are coding normal PHP, normally if you want, you have to come here and start creating tables. You click on create table, enter the table name, enter the fields, and manually. You don't do that in Laravel. In Laravel, you start from inside Laravel in the migrations folder, the database. Under migrations, this is where you create the files. And when you run migration in your command prompt, Laravel will go to your database and create these tables with the fields. So for instance, we have this table called users, okay, that has all this, and we have password resets table and the Laravel failed jobs table. Cool. Now what we can do is just to come to command prompt and run php artisan migrate. Chill and hit enter. And Laravel will take those three tables, go to our database because we've told it where our database is, and then install it. Now, more often than not, you're going to get an error the first time you run this because the error will tell you something. Look at what it's saying. Syntax error or access violation 1071. Specified key was too long. Laravel almost always gives you this the first time. So we're going to set something up. All right. So let's go here. To sort it out, you have to go to app folder, go to, I think it's providers, app service provider. Here we're going to give Laravel an instruction. So, but to get the instruction, let's just copy the error. The first line, look at the line I copied. I copied 1071 specified key was too long in Laravel, and I'll go to my browser, go to Google and type it, paste search. The first result is usually from Laravel. As you can see, Laravel news. And as you can see, this error has been from the days of 5.4. So to resolve it, we'll scroll to the bottom, see the resolution. First of all, we need to import this into a folder called app service provider.php. That's a file. We have already opened it. So we copy this first line, copy, then look at it in app providers, app service provider. So the first line, we'll put it at the top here, paste. So we're importing schema, right? Click save, Ctrl S. Now we go back to our browser and copy this default string length 191. We're supposed to put it inside the boot folder, so there's a boot folder here, okay? So we hit enter, Ctrl V, save, and we're good. Everything should work well now. So if we come here, okay, if we come here and run that command again, so to run it again, I have to just click the up arrow, up cursor key on my keyboard. Up cursor key shows me the last command I ran. I'll click enter, and it's going to run the command again. This time around, we might have an error, and the error might have changed. Look, let's see what changed in the error. Base table or view already exists. The reason it is saying this is that it's trying to take from my migrations, go to our database and create a table, but when it gets there, it realizes that the table already exists because the first command we ran actually created some of the tables. So if we come to our database, for instance, and click on Laravel jobs, we'll see that it created 2 out of 3 tables that it was scheduled to create before failing. All right. So what we can do is to clear these tables. So I'll just do highlight, select this, and drop. Yes, I'll click here, and the table, we don't have any tables again in our database, so we can come here and run up arrow, enter. So it has successfully created the tables. Now another option you can have, because most times you're building your Laravel app, you might need to run migrations a number of times, okay? Another option to do that is you run php artisan migrate, then you type fresh. Okay, migrate fresh. Fresh means that if it gets to database, fresh or refresh, okay, either of these two, depending on the Laravel version. So refresh, if it gets to the database and see that the table already exists, it will first of all delete that table before creating the new one. Alright, so instead of going to your database to manually create all those things, you can run the command directly. So let's go to our database and see what was created. If we come here and I will click on Laravel jobs just to refresh our database, we'll see that it has 1, 2, 3, 4 tables has already been created. Okay, so if you click on any of the tables, for instance, if you click on structure, we can compare what it created to what was in the migrations file. You see there's ID, name, email verified that, password, remember token, created that and updated that. So if you come here to our database folder, create users, you'll see that it has ID, name, email, verify that, password, remember token, then you have these 2 fields. These 2 fields are automatically created by the timestamp. So because every time you put a record in the database, it just makes sense that you time the record. When did you create that record? Alright, so if users are signing up in our database, we need to know when each user signed up. That is what the created that field does for us. So Laravel automatically creates those fields for you if you include this. Now there is also another field that is important to know, and that is the deleted at field. It's called soft delete. So if I control C, Control V. I duplicated this line. That's how you duplicate lines in VS Code. Control C, Control V. Then you can type soft deletes. You see, soft deletes. I'll explain what soft delete does. Soft delete is in plural. You should note that it's in plural. Soft delete creates an extra field called deleted_at. The concept behind soft delete in software development is that when you build the application that users use, if they delete anything, maybe they delete a comment they put on your website, or delete their profile, or delete anything, that thing doesn't actually leave the database. Your database just marks it as deleted, and the user can no longer see it, and no other user can see it. But if you go log into your database and look, you can actually see that there was a record there that is now marked as deleted. So it's different from completely deleting from your database. So most modern web developers and software developers always have that. Alright, so if you ever put anything online, that thing never actually goes. It stays forever. Okay, good. So every time you're creating a migration table and you're working with InfyOM, you need to put soft delete. Otherwise, InfyOM will be throwing errors. So InfyOM expects you by default to have a soft delete field. All right, good. So see you in the next video.